Minute ago, I was trying to come on my YouTube channel and my camera wasn't being picked up as it is right now. So this is going to be a pre-recorded sort of promos, sort of reading and allowing you to get this information now. This also will help other people if they have not gotten this brand new book that I have. This brand new book right here. I can get the light off right there. It's Radiant Heart, 7 Amazing Pathways to Connect, Activate, and Communicate with Your Higher Self. And I've been working on this book for quite some time. As far as back as about a year ago, but more intensely about 6 months ago. And I had this opportunity to now get it done before my 72nd birthday, which was on March the 16th of 2024, and also before I went on my good friend Lloyd Strayhorn's live with Lloyd. In fact, last night, the 25th of March. So I want to start to bring out bits and pieces of this new book. And this will help anyone who's thinking about buying the book, who might want to buy this book for other people. But like I said on the show last night, this book may not be for everybody, especially if somebody is struggling with what is that, post-traumatic syndrome, where they could be a war veteran who still might get those images of being shell-shocked a little bit, maybe bright light, the sounds of planes and things like that. So I have to be very careful. Also, this may not help people who are heavily addicted to alcohol and drugs because you have to be able to use your creative visualization side of yourself in order to do some of this work. Sometimes people can't sit in silence eventually and find it very difficult. So I want to make sure to let people know that this book is not necessarily for everyone. Okay. And I state that a few times throughout this book so people know that. Okay. Now, one of the things I'm going to bring to the forefront is the importance of meditation. In fact, one of my students of my meditation groups that I do online, as well as she has taken some of the uh, other courses online that I did last year, like numerology, and I also did selenite. So I wanted to make sure that everybody can get this information at any time, but also be sure that people feel better about what they're seeing and what they're hearing. And it was my student by the name, and I'll give her credit, Jackie Fillmore, that loaned this ancient Egyptian proverb, and I placed it in my book, that says, true sages are those who give what they have without meanness and without secret. And that's an ancient Egyptian proverb. So this book took over 40,000 words to bring this out in a manner that is easier to understand. But again, like I said, this is a kind of book that you really have to take your time, even though it's an easy read for many people, but you still have to take your time. Don't rush and do not skip around. Now, I'm going to skip around a little bit to give you a little taste of what's in this book. This book, of course, is called Radiant Heart, 7 Amazing Pathways to Connect, Activate, and Communicate with Your Higher Self. It is set up into 4 parts. The first part is called the foundation. So if you're thinking about getting this book, this is what it entails. The foundation is, what is Radiant Heart? What is Circle of Grace 1? We are never alone. That's the first 3 chapters. Chapter 4 is dreams, meditation, and guided meditation. These are things that you have to know or learn about. Chapter 5 is infinite systems are keys of living light. Chapter 6, creative path work meditation system, how I actually formulated that and put that together. Part 2 are the 7 amazing pathways or living keys to the higher self, meaning your higher self. Method 1, Chapter 7, White Light Meditation. Chapter 8, Method 2, taken from one of my other books, Beloved Akhenaten's Path of the Cobra and the Blue Flame, which is from that book, The Wisdom of Akhenaten as I Am. Chapter 9, Method 3, taken from the book called The Gift, which is the companion to The Wisdom of Akhenaten as I Am. The Gift subtitle is The Wisdom of Nefertiti as I Am. And in there is The Gift of the Blue Flame. Chapter 10, Method 4. I talk about sound and light. And I believe in that chapter, I kind of bring out to you, beta cycle, alpha cycle, theta cycle, and delta cycle. Chapter 11 is Method 5, Speak as I Am. That's connected to one of my other books called Decree and It Shall Be, Speak as I Am. How to use affirmations, affirmative prayer, meditation, and decrees to kind of put things into motion for yourself, to activate yourself so that you can receive. Chapter 12 is method number 6, and that's talking about selenite as the master. Selenite is the master gemstone. Chapter 13, method 7, gateway to your higher self in the great central sun. This is something that is actually taking place with you as you go to sleep at night. You kind of raise up out of body, soul travel, and eventually connect with your higher self. Part 3 are 6 keys to shift your awareness. Chapter 14 is implementing all 7 methods through silence. In other words, silent meditation, to be on that path. Chapter 15, you are the living obelisk. And I explain what an obelisk is, then I explain how you are like that symbolically, and also literally. Chapter 16 is Journey to Grace, the Path of Enlightenment. Chapter 17, you are a living prayer. Chapter 18, no more secrets. Chapter 19, be a beacon light. That's important. When you're doing this work and you're willing to connect with your higher self, it's about being a beacon light. Get as clear as you can on your path and get clear with your purpose. Part 4 is the philosophy of the higher self. Chapter 20 is rebirth, regenerate, and transform. Chapter 21, the higher self is the eternal I Am presence. Chapter 22, remembrance is the key. Chapter 23, you are living as your higher self. Chapter 24, your new life impacts the collective and beyond. And the last chapter, 25, the transcendental self is the higher self. Now, there are different exercises in this book that will help you attain much of this. And again, if you take your time and move day to day, moment to moment, without rushing, you can very well attain these heights. but it's not something that's going to happen overnight. I want to let you know that you have to give yourself time to develop. This is highly important. If you try to rush through everything, then you create a problem for yourself. That's why I said this book may not be for everybody, but it's only for those who are seeking. Um, I also mentioned is in this book, don't use any mind altering drugs now, or mind altering herbs, because what happens is a lot of people strive to overcome things by getting high. Now I know there's a movement about using ayahuasca, but I'm also aware there's a lot of people that have used it and it's still the same personality. They haven't changed much. It's supposed to alter the mind. They may sit with someone who's done it numerous times, but ayahuasca is sort of like back in the day when people were striving to use LSD. There were two Harvard professors. One was Timothy Leary. This was in the late 1960s, and the other one was Richard Alpert. These were psychological personalities. These guys taught psychology. They both experimented with LSD. They both lost their jobs. Richard Alpert shared LSD with a student. Timothy Leary wound up going to jail for having a whole lot of it on him. But here's what happened. Timothy Leary didn't have a mind altering experience. Professor Richard Alpert did. And he wound up going into India and studying with a yogi, which I mentioned in this book. And he came back with the name Ram Dass. And many of you have heard about his works. He eventually was teaching uh, out in Los Angeles and wound up in Maui, the Hawaiian Islands out there. And he transitioned out there, I believe, in 2019. And he had written a book, several books. One of his most famous books was called Be Here Now. So not everybody can take a mind-altering drug, a mind-altering herb, smoke it, do whatever they need to do with it, and expect to come out with a whole lot of bliss. Because if you don't do any cleansings with yourself, and if you're not diligent with yourself, and you're not sincere enough with yourself, it may not be your time to use such an herb to elevate yourself, to ascend your consciousness. So I want to make that perfectly clear. This may not be a book for you if you're using ayahuasca. Let's say don't use it. So you can naturally get high through meditation with yourself and with other people. It's very important to be able to comprehend this. So I'm going to give you a part of this book. I'm going to start with part one, What is Radiant Heart, which is chapter one. And I'm going to read from page 13 for you. Toward the bottom, page 13, or I'll start in the middle. That's very good, right? In the middle of the page, directly from my book. As we remember our true divinity, which is our higher self, we can begin to live with unconditional love under the aegis of divine grace. By doing this, we add to the collective and help elevate it to higher consciousness, which is eventually and eternally happening all of the time, all over the globe, and beyond as an infinite blessing of divine grace through the heart of divine providence. Remember, there are numerous ways this can be achieved, and my book is just one of them. However, in the beginning, it takes constant effort and repetitive work. Constant effort and repetitive work. to reach the point where we know we have made the initial connection. Because remember, I've selected the 7 pathways to connect, activate, and communicate with your higher self, but you got to connect with it first. And then you got to get a rapport with it. And then eventually it activates itself with you. And then you're able to communicate with your higher self. Radiant heart is a direct means. I'll say that again. Radiant heart, this is page 13 toward the bottom. Radiant heart is a direct means to your frequency key. Now, I call it a frequency key. It's frequent within you. That frequency key is called remembrance, so that your higher self can be experienced now. That's very important. The frequency key is remembrance. The other one is awareness. Be aware first. That's when you connect. You become aware that you're connecting with something, and then remembrance kicks in. The higher self is always with us and just waiting for this connection to be created and maintained. To accomplish such a wonderful task, we must correct the personal ego, which is another part of ourselves. Often our personal ego is a miscreated ego. That's something that's in the book, the channeled book, The Wisdom of Akhenaten as I Am. Miscreated ego is meaning taken, the meaning of it has been taken out of its true context. The ego is another part of ourselves. It is our individual personality that we created. We felt the need to create and feel separately empowered from our true divine nature, which is being one with the divine source or prime creator, which is infinite. So is that side of us that's independent of other people? It's that side of us that could be independent of animals, our surroundings, life, plant life, and everything. There's that need that you can awaken on a different level. You want to be important. That me, myself, and I, that particular trilogy. But it is still uh, a step, a lower frequency step, and I sometimes refer to it as your inner child, your sacred child. It is our individual personality that we created, felt the need to create, and feel separately empowered from our true divine nature, which is being one with the divine source, also known as prime creator, which is infinite. We have allowed ourselves to fall away from the realization. We have allowed ourselves to fall away from the realization that we are an integral part of the primordial force known as divine I Am presence. We are the open door for it to flow through expressing itself throughout the globe and beyond us. I wrote about the miscreated ego and being the open door in my second book called The Wisdom of Akhenaten as I Am. If you have that book, read it. It's all channeled. Part of our journey in this life, as in all other lifetimes, is to be radiant through our heart centers. The middle of your sternum, back there's your physical heart, sitting between two lungs. The chakra energy field is the heart. The heart gives off a far more infinite frequency than the brain does. What does that mean? Be radiant. Radiant. Well, there's two words you see in there. Ra, Ra, the sun, the Kemetic vibration name for the sun, as well as Great Central Sun, and Radii or Radii, Radi, a ray itself. It's a part of a wheel, giving off certain degrees. I am writing about remembering that we are an infinite conscious form of light that dwells in many realms all at once. We are, I'm going to repeat it, remembering that we are an infinite conscious form of light that dwells in many realms all at once, and having the ability to retain that consciousness. That means we remember. Don't you remember being a child, summer night, looking up in the sky, looking at the twinkling stars that you saw there, constellations far off? You could see all those things. You could feel those things. As you got a little older, some of you could feel the presence of figures, people, ancestors walking around you, other entities and other beings. People say, well, you're a star child. Well, we all are, because we wouldn't be looking up into the heavens to pinpoint something, to remember something. Now, as we lean toward being a radiant light, as in radiant heart being, which I sometimes refer to as a SSB, S period, S period, B period, which is a spiritual sentient being. We remember all, every experience, but at some moment in what we call increments of light, there is no remembrance of separation, just oneness. When we use our personal ego properly, we have clear discernment so we can stay on track, be in alignment with our higher self, and not veer off course. However, we must tame our ego. And what I mean is that we ought to do our best to be and remain humble. Therefore, as I write this book and share its contents, I remain humble. One might ask, what drives me to have the desire to write about the journey to the higher self? I could share the meaning of the higher self now, but I want to introduce the process. The conduits that can lead you to the higher self. And of course, one of them is being the Circle of Grace one. And it is important in my life's journey, the Circle of Grace one. We all must have a vehicle or process that helps us to move forward and fuel our desires in such a way that our life improves successfully. But success is not a fast track event. Sometimes people want it. They want it like here and now. They don't think they should wait. They want it here and now. But it takes time. So this process can help us move forward, but it is not a fast track event because you will experience many obstacles. So I'm letting you know ahead of time, some of your obstacles are going to be fear, doubt, illusionary thinking, an illusion. You don't capture the image just right. It might be something that you want it to be, but yet it isn't. But you can improve successfully. We all must have validation, but from where does it come? That validation that we seek, comes from deep within ourselves. Validation is not always outside. It comes from inside. This journey to our higher self is the process of our validation. My book is one of many books for the collective over so many decades. And of course, I'm not the only author who has written a book on this fabulous subject matter. In fact, right now, all over the internet, you see people talking about the higher self. Now, I didn't see anything about the higher self until this book came out. Sometimes those things happen. That's like there was an author by the name of Ken Keyes way back in the late 60s. He wrote a book called Higher Consciousness, and he wrote a principle, a theory called the 100th monkey principle, which means when one monkey on the island was figuring out what a branch could be used for to knock down a coconut out of the tree, all the others got that idea by observing and watching. And then the thought went out to another island, and other monkeys were doing the same. So once a thought comes out and the emotions are connected to it and done in a very positive way, other beings pick up and they begin to remember. So I'm not the only one that has written this. I have been a student of meditation since 1971. If those of you were watching Live with Lloyd, I went into that a little bit, how that happened. I'm not going to reiterate it. I have it here in the book. Let me jump over to another section. One of the many ideas to remember is that we are housing infinite expressions of divine law and divinity itself. We have been far removed from these due to other conditions, situations, and actions. Meditation is the journey that is forever allowing us to experience all in the present moment, far removed from all thoughts and experiences connected to the past and future. Radiant heart means that we can resonate with our highest positive frequency through the divine nature of our higher self. We are all from the divine source, which is an unlimited energetic field that contains many vibrations. However, we veered off course in our true comprehension and remembrance. That happened, and it happens frequently. We have all this energy compressed into our physical self and around it as well. We came into this physical world to experience being human and allowed ourselves to forget our true nature. We even allowed ourselves to forget our true nature as the higher self, and that this 3D realm is merely an illusion. Many of our ancient ancestors were shamans, alchemists, and travelers between worlds who veered off course, but eventually remembered how to travel to and from the worlds by even using the dream world. They forgot, but they got back through the power of dreams in the dream world to access all the worlds and realms of consciousness. So there's a key. You can use the dream world to access this information. We are the ones who come back every time to clear ourselves, free our minds, and to remember our divine nature. There are a few questions waiting to be asked and then answered by many of us now in this world. Perhaps these questions are, why do we keep repeating this journey as a human? Why are we not moving forward, and what are we waiting for? Part of that answer, or part of the answer, is that we simply choose to return. Many, if not all of us, have returned through reincarnation to help move the collective as humanity into fifth dimension and beyond, into the higher frequencies of the much higher dimensions, such as 12th dimension, and beyond, back home, into the light, into the infinite light of divine source. But we cannot forget that we need the ultimate guidance of our higher self. All is done through the receiving of higher consciousness, which comes through our higher self. The contents I have chosen to place in this book as the 7 pathways, and each is a journey unto itself, can be expressed in a group of like-minded people. But they work best when you are using them alone. Why, here's some of the things why you should use them alone. I mean, you can practice them with other people, but have you ever sat in circles where there's some unsuspecting person who's not the teacher is tuning into the energy? I've sat in circles where I've caught people tuning into me. I've sat in things like Renaissance festivals, and two people say, "Well, can I sit and listen to his or her reading?" And I ask the person, "Is that okay with you?" And then I shield up. Why? Because that other person wants to test me. And what I've been able to do in those earlier years is watch that person trying to test me while I'm reading their mate or their friend or their fiance or their sibling. Watch them walk away with a headache. Why? Because they're not supposed to be tuning into me, trying to see what I know, because they know when you're reading a person, you're open. So you have to be aware of those things. Those things do happen. And that's why sometimes it's best to begin doing meditation by yourself before you even jump into a group. Now, none of this material, especially the seven pathways, should be considered as accomplishing the goal of connecting, activating, and communicating with your higher self as a fast paced journey. Do not take this journey lightly because you must journal your personal experiences, which later become your personal transformation. Next, let us discover how Chapter 2 identifies the spiritual vehicle, which allowed me to seek out all of these pathways. And it goes on, and that in Chapter 2 is my Circle of Grace 1, the journey that I took at a very young age. You get the book that starts on page 18, that's part of the foundation. So, what I want to remind you here is that this journey eventually becomes a sacred journey to you. This journey eventually becomes a sacred journey to you. It's not something that's all over the place where you're highfalutin it, you need to, some people will take this and say, well, this guy's bragging. No, I'm not bragging. I went through some stuff. I had to earn it. You will earn your merits as well. If you do this just right, simply through gratitude, no competition, and understanding grace, the principle divine grace lives within you, you will begin to open up to these teachings, each one of these seven pathways. Now, you can use them individually, separately, to get the experience, but eventually you're going to have to bring it all together. I mentioned about dreams. There is a section here that deals with dreams, meditation, and guided meditation. And these things are, again, are very sacred. There's a need that you need to go into these things. People may ask me, well, how long you been doing meditation? Well, like I said on Live with Lloyd on March 25th, 2024 at about 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I've been doing this since spring of 1971 in the middle of my freshman year in college. I've never stopped meditation. I've been doing it every day, whether I spend 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, different times of the day, but I still diligently work, which means I sit in meditation. There's not a day that goes by that I'm not sitting in meditation. I've created something called Creative Pathwork Meditations. That's very helpful. And these are things that I introduce to my students that have this opportunity to experience live online with me or out here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, at a place that I teach at on Saturdays. For people who study yoga, there are like 6 different pathways of that. And I mention it in my book on chapter 5. Infinite systems are keys of living light. People could study Hatha Yoga, which is the yoga of postures, Raja Yoga, the yoga of self-control, which takes them into the soul. Kundalini Yoga is the yoga of energy. Must be very careful. If you're going to do Kundalini Yoga, that deals with connecting with the base of your spine, that root chakra, and arriving at the top of your head. Must be careful. Need a confident, competent, expert teacher. I'm not a Kundalini yoga expert, but I did experience Shaktipat, and I talked about that. Then there's Karma Yoga, which is understanding the right thoughts and right actions of the mind. Then there's Jnana Yoga, Jnana Yoga. It's another form of yoga of the mind. Then there's the yoga of devotion called Bhakti Yoga. And that's when you're worshiping the creator and all of the deities connected to the creator. This takes you through Vedic and Brahmic principles of yoga, Brahmanism, pre-classical, which is the Upanishads, which is like the Bible. Then there's the classical yoga sutras of Patanjali, who was an awesome teacher. Then there's the post-classical periods. You should go into the studies of Siddhartha Gautama, who attained Buddhahood. You should go into the teachings of Confucius, better known as Kung Fu Se, and the teachings of Lao Tzu and Chang Tzu. All of these things can help you. If you're a student of Tai Chi, without trying to be the martial artist type of Tai Chi practitioner, you could help yourself. You could study Qigong. Qigong is the grandparent of Tai Chi and other Kung Fu systems. Those things are equally helpful. It's all about overcoming the illusions that we have in ourselves. So I just wanted to bring that part out to my book, Radiant Heart, The 7 Amazing Pathways to Connect, Activate, and Communicate with Your Higher Self. I believe that this book is going to help a lot of people globally. Right now, I have a student in the UK, I have 2 of them, 2 or 3 of them, that have gone through the opportunity to purchase this book and to begin to study, as well as people here in the USA. I look to be able to start a workshop first, an introductory workshop that will get you started. And then we will develop that into a weekly course. But I want people to get the book first, and then we will go into the principles that are taught in this book. Thank you for your time. I'm Brother Francis E. Rebels Bay. I'm the founder of the Circle Grace One, founded and established on July 2nd of 1974, AD, named after my very first teacher called Grace, which was my biological mother in this lifetime, which was around me in many other lifetimes. This is an opportunity to share these teachings with the world. This is my 7th book, and I have many other books on Amazon. I'll kind of flow to the back here. One of my first books was called Dancing in the Light of Divine Grace. That was originally written in 2004, published in 2017 after it was revised, and then revised it one more time and uploaded into my account, direct publishing, independent publishing, self-publishing on Amazon in May of 2018. Later was The Wisdom of Akhenaten as I Am in the same year, right after that. In early 2019 was The Gift, The Wisdom of Nefertiti as I Am. The Wisdom of Akhenaten as I Am and The Gift, The Wisdom of Nefertiti as I Am, they go hand in hand. They're the beloved teachers of ancient Kemet. Then there's the age of remembrance, the divine I am presence in selenite. It's good to talk about it, to know what it is, and I've written about it in here. Again, I wrote about it in the gift and also in the wisdom of Akhenaten as I am, and the wisdom of Nefertiti as I am called a gift. It's a healing stone. It's a master healing stone. And I have lots of it here in my residence. Next book was Decree and It Shall Be, Speak as I Am. And it was about what is an affirmation? What is a prayer? What is affirmative prayer? How do you write them? Then what's meditation all about again? And of course, what is a decree? 5 steps get you where you got to go. The book before this book, which was book number 6, is called The Key to Life is Numerology. When I first taught it last year, starting in February of last year, it was an 18-week program. I couldn't do it like that this year. Started it in February of this year on a Wednesday night, and it's a 13-week program. Many people have asked me, am I going to put out some videos? I will when I have the time. I'll put out some introductory videos connected to these courses. And I will put together a short video course, pre-recorded in numerology, pre-recorded for meditation, creative pathwork meditation. I'll put these in video format and so many others. So take care of yourself. I'm Brother Francis E. Revels Bay. It is Tuesday, March 26, 2024. Thank you for your time. I hope this helps you out in understanding the foundation of my new book, Radiant Heart. Be sure to get your copy on Amazon. Paperback book, $25. Now, I know some people ask, how come you're not putting them in ebooks? Something happens to your ebook mechanism, you got a book. It's for here and here. Use books, folks. Books save lives. Take care, everybody. Until next time, remember that divine grace is a blessing as we are alive and well in the age of remembrance. Remember, this is a pre-recorded video. If you need to contact me, email me at iam.circleofgrace1@gmail.com. Take care now. Have a good night.